There are some senses in history that just change everything. Today, we're diving into one of the most profound statements ever made about life, death, and what it all means. It was written from a place of, well, extreme pressure, and honestly, it contains a logic that can completely re-architect our entire reality.
So, first, you've got to picture the scene. And I mean really picture it. This isn't some metaphor. The Apostle Paul is literally in chains, sitting in a cold, dark Roman prison. He's waiting for a trial, and the outcome is totally up in the air. I mean, he could be executed or he could walk free. The stakes? They could not be higher.
And that brings us to a really universal question, one we all face in some way, right? When you're staring down that kind of ultimate uncertainty, that kind of intense pressure, what keeps a person from just breaking? What's the internal logic, the deep down belief that allows someone to face life or death and not completely collapse into despair?
Well, Paul gives his answer in one just breathtaking sentence. This right here, this is his core conviction. It's like his spiritual operating system. He says, "For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain." And that single line, it's the key that unlocks everything, and I mean everything, that he's about to say.
Okay, so let's break that down. First part, to live is Christ. Now, I want you to notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say to live is ministry, or to live is to serve people, or even to live is having a purpose. Look, even those really good things can become idols if we're not careful. For Paul, it's simpler and way more profound. Christ himself is life. He's the center, the very substance, the whole meaning of his existence.
All right, now for the second half, which is, wow, just as radical. To die is gain. I mean, think about that. Our default human setting, our operating system, screams that death is the ultimate loss. It's the end of everything we know and value. But Paul, he just completely flips the script. How is that even possible?
And just to be clear, this is not some morbid death wish. Not at all. This is pure resurrection confidence. See, Paul believes so completely, so deeply, that Jesus defeated death, that death itself has totally changed its meaning for him. It's not a final brick wall anymore. It's a doorway into a fuller, more immediate, more real life with the very Christ who is his life.
And you can see here how this one core belief just logically ripples outward. It's really amazing. It all starts with his personal confession. From there, it leads to this very real internal dilemma he's facing. That dilemma gets resolved by love, which then becomes a command for the entire community. And then finally, that command provides the whole framework for their shared struggle. So let's walk through this step by step.
So right after that powerful confession, Paul gets really honest about his personal dilemma. He is completely torn. On the one hand, his deepest desire, what he literally calls far better, is to leave this life and be with Christ. But on the other hand, he knows the church in Philippi desperately needs him. So what does he do? He chooses what's necessary for them over what is better for him. And that right there, that's love logic. It's a sacrificial mindset that looks exactly like Jesus.
Okay, now this is where the cultural context gets really, really interesting. Paul tells the Philippians to live as citizens of the gospel. You have to understand, Philippi was a Roman colony, and its people were incredibly proud of their Roman citizenship. It was a huge deal. So Paul takes this powerful political idea that they all understood, and he completely hijacks it. He basically says, hey, your ultimate citizenship, the one that truly defines your whole way of life, it's not with Rome. It's in the kingdom of Christ.
So what does that citizenship actually look like in practice? Well, Paul pulls out some amazing athletic and military imagery. He says, stand firm together, strive side by side, like you're on the same team. Don't get spooked by your opponents. He's making it crystal clear here. Your faith is not some private individual hobby. It is communal faithfulness, especially under pressure. You could say it's a team sport.
And this courage he's talking about, it isn't just about being tough for the sake of being tough. No, Paul says their fearlessness is actually a sign to their opponents. It's a public testimony. Think about it. When a community faces that kind of intense pressure and doesn't break, it sends a powerful message to the watching world. It says, our God is real, our hope is secure, and our salvation comes from a source that is way beyond this world.
And then Paul drops what might be the single most challenging verse in this whole passage. He says it has been granted to them, not only to believe in Christ, but also to suffer for him. Now that word for granted, it's a grace word. It has the same root as the word for gift. Suffering as a gift? I mean, what? Most of us see suffering as a glitch in the system, right? It's a problem we need to avoid at all costs.
But Paul he reframes it entirely. He's saying that suffering for Christ's sake is actually meaningful. It can confirm that we truly belong to him. It can drive us into a deeper dependence on God. It puts the incredible supreme value of Jesus on display for everyone to see. And it builds in us an endurance and a hope that will not disappoint.
And what Paul's going through, it's not some random, one-off thing. It's actually a pattern woven throughout the entire story of the Bible. Again and again, we see God's plan advance through weakness and endurance. Think about it. Joseph is betrayed before he saves his family. Israel is enslaved before they're redeemed. David is hunted like an animal before he's crowned king. And of course, supremely, Jesus is crucified before he is exalted.
So what's happening here? Paul's life is simply becoming Jesus-shaped. His willingness to stay, to keep working, and even to suffer for the sake of the church, it's a direct reflection of Jesus himself, who chose the cross for our sake at the greatest possible personal cost.
And all of this just brings us right back to Jesus. I mean, let's just pause and think about this for a second. If knowing him is so wonderful, so complete, that it makes death itself feel like a promotion, what does that tell us about who Jesus really is?
Well, it tells us that Jesus is not just some helpful teacher or a life coach. He's not a spiritual accessory that we just add on to our already pretty decent life. No way. He is the risen Lord of the entire universe, and his victory over the grave is so total, so absolute, that it fundamentally transforms our greatest fear into our greatest hope.
And that brings this ancient text crashing right into our lives today. See, this passage doesn't just want to inform us, it wants to confront us. It's asking us, you and me, to run a diagnostic on the operating system of our own hearts.
Because here's the thing. Every single one of us has a functional version of Paul's sentence, whether we've ever said it out loud or not. It's like a fill in the blank. For me, to live is blank. Paul's answer was Christ. So, what's yours? What's that one thing that, if you lost it, would make you feel like your life was completely over?
Is it comfort? To live as the approval of others? To live as success? To live as being in control? This passage invites us to really look at our own hearts and see that only one of those sentences, only one, can ever end with, "and to die is gain." It's an invitation to discover a Christ who is so real, so valuable, and so loving that he becomes not just a part of our life, but our very life itself.